What's up you guys, it's Sarah and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about 10 things that I wish I knew before I started university. I just finished my first year as an engineering student at a university in Canada. I won't be saying which one I go to specifically, but I mean it doesn't really matter. This year was such a big year of change for me, and so many things went the way I thought they would and so many things went not the way I thought that they would. And yeah, I learned a lot of stuff, and I just thought it would be helpful for people that are starting university in the future if I made a little video talking about some things I've learned. So number one, don't let other people's perception of university define yours. This one for me is probably the most important because before I went to university, so many people just gave me different opinions and their like experiences of university. Like people were like, oh, like it's really hard, or oh, it's like easy, or it's, you know, whatever. And one that I heard a lot was that university is really hard, especially engineering. So many people were like, oh, it's like really hard, like you're not gonna have time for anything else, like it's gonna be like super difficult and all that. And I believe them because everyone said that, and in a sense it was true because engineering is pretty hard, but I let people's opinions shape mine too much. Like I went into university convinced that it was gonna be hard and convinced that it was gonna be like so draining and I wouldn't have time to do anything and all that. And it kind of ended up being a bad thing for me because since I was so convinced that it was going to be hard, I kind of just, I don't know, I didn't give up, but I had like no confidence in myself because everyone had told me it was going to be like, you know, so difficult. So I was like, I can't do it then if it's going to be this hard. I think with the first one, it's important to hear people's opinions about university, but also to, you know, just keep them in the back of your mind and not let other people's experiences define your own. Okay, I just turned off my fish tank, so hopefully that wasn't too loud in the last clip. Number two, you have more time than you think. This kind of goes with the last one, but so many people told me I wouldn't have any time in university. So in my first month, I stopped doing anything fun. Like I stopped going to the gym, which is one of my favorite things. I didn't really hang out with my friends that much, but they were busy too, so I don't know if that would have worked out. And I basically just did homework like all the time, and I really just convinced myself that I couldn't do anything else. Like I literally had no time to like explore the new city that I went to because I moved away for school and I was living in a completely different province and new city and all that. And I was like, nope, I don't have time to do anything fun because there's just too much school going on. And I wish that I realized sooner that there is time in a day. And I know that for some people, like they have jobs and stuff and they really don't have enough time to just like do things that they really want to, but in my experience I had time and I was just not using it to the best of my abilities, I guess. Like I could have done more fun stuff and also had time for homework, but I just didn't really try because I honestly thought I had no time, and I did. These are kind of all connected, but number three is don't revolve your entire life around school. University is a time where you might be away from home and you have so much freedom and opportunities to just try new things. Like for example with me, I started rock climbing, which I love so much and I'm so glad that I got to do that. I also joined the first aid club, which was kind of like lifeguarding, but we just did first aid at like events and stuff, and that was really fun. And I also joined the swim club so I could keep up with my swimming. And yeah, like those things were so much fun and I'm so glad that I did them, and I wish that I started those earlier because I started doing most of those things in second semester when I figured out my life. But I could have had a more fulfilling university experience, I guess, if I started doing those things earlier and if I just tried more things. Like there is a point where I guess you shouldn't overwhelm yourself and you shouldn't do too much stuff because then you're going to be too stressed and you're not going to be able to enjoy stuff. But I think just like picking a few activities, and even if you go once and then you realize it's not for you, like that's totally fine. Like university is just such a good time to just experience new things, and yeah, I wish I did it earlier. Number four, 1 hour of hard work is better than 10 hours of distracted work. This one is probably pretty obvious, but yeah, when I was in high school, I was one of those kids who didn't really study or do their homework. Well, like I did my homework, but it would be super distracted. Like I would watch YouTube videos and do my assignments at the same time, or I'd start my assignments like super late at night when I was like tired, so I like couldn't concentrate properly. I still got good marks, and like I don't say this to brag, but I don't know, I just want to say this so you guys have some context, but I never really learned how to study properly, and I think this is a problem for a lot of people, and I might make a separate video about that. But yeah, I just had no idea how to study properly. Then I got to university and I knew that I couldn't do the same things anymore, but it's hard to build study habits and have such an intense workload. Okay, now I feel like I'm projecting my experience onto yours, so take this with a grain of salt. But it was really hard for me to like figure out how to study, but also have so much more, not even so much more, but more complicated things, and having to try and figure out those two at the same time was a little bit hard for me. I did eventually, but yeah, I wish I knew at the beginning that if I just set out like certain times where I just went hardcore and then took a break, it would have been better if I than me just spending like the whole day doing stuff but not really doing stuff that intensely, because that's the way I studied in high school, and it did work for me, and I knew that I had to change, but I just didn't know how to change. I don't really know what the lesson is here, but there's that. Number 5, you're not going to be at the same level as everyone else. You may have to work harder, and that's okay. So this is also kind of obvious, I feel like you're obviously not going to be at the same level as everyone because not everyone is the same. But for me, like I've always compared myself to other people, like with marks, and it was kind of hard in university when I realized that I wasn't the smartest anymore, which I also knew was going to happen, but it was still like a little bit like, ooh, rough. For example, like my math level I think wasn't as good because I went to school in a different province, like I said before, and a lot of the students that went to school in that province and then went to the same or university in the same province had learned things that we hadn't really learned or hadn't touched on as much. In math, for example, like I didn't know what a factorial was. Like I literally didn't know. Like I'd seen it before, but I didn't know like a factorial was like the number and then multiplied by the like numbers underneath, like in descending order, I guess. Anyway, I literally didn't know what it was, and there's like just like little things that we're kind of like, ooh, I kind of have to learn that myself. And I guess that's kind of what university is kind of about. Like you need to be able to teach yourself things if you don't know and if you fall behind. And I guess that's just kind of the way it is. I wish I kind of knew that more. Like I wish I understood better that there's gonna be things that no one's gonna teach me and I just have to figure it out. And again, that's another thing I knew, but I didn't really realize like the importance of it, and that you really just have to teach yourself something sometimes. Number 6, there are so many resources out there for you. So this depends on what university you go to, but the one I went to, there were so many good resources. Like in second semester, I started going to Math Help, and it was so helpful. Basically, it was just like a room that we like sat in, and then there was like TAs and you could just ask them questions and stuff. And especially in like the math courses we had, like there was stuff that was so complicated. And honestly, the TAs, like, because there weren't that many of them, like they were helpful, but I think the most helpful part was talking to other engineers, because like when you're in lectures, it's kind of hard to talk to other people about your assignments because, you know, you're just in there for like an hour or 2 hours or whatever, and then you leave. But in Math Help, there were so many engineers there, and I was able to like actually talk to people and like figure out questions. And I also made some friends there too, so that was fun. But I didn't take advantage of things like that in first semester. Like I went to chemistry help, that was the only thing I went to. But other than that, I didn't really go to anything. And there's also like office hours, which I think all universities like have, because, you know, I think profs have to have office hours. I don't know, I wasn't much of an office hours person, but if you like talking to people or to profs one-on-one, then like it can be super helpful, and like it's part of their job to help you. So if you have questions, like go to office hours. I kind of wish I went to office hours more, but I didn't, so I mean, whatever. But honestly, the thing that was the most helpful for me, and I know this might not be at every university, but going to Math Help was the best thing ever. Like I was there almost every day. Well, I was there like 3 times a week. And it was just so helpful. I like cannot stress that enough. So yeah, if you need help, like reach out and ask someone. Like there's also guidance counselors and all that at most universities, and like advisors. Like there are a lot of engineering advisors at my university, and their literal job is to help you. So if you need help, go ask for it. Number 7, planning your life actually makes a difference. I had a planner in high school, and I literally didn't use it because I just kept all my due dates in my brain. I honestly don't know how I did that because I forget stuff a lot. But in university, I think it's because I didn't have like the same classes every day that made me confused about what was due when, even though most of our assignments had the same due date every week. Like for example, we had like these online math assignments and they were always due like at the same time every week, but it's just like a lot of stuff to keep in your brain. So planning things out is really helpful to like write down your due date so you can see it, but also planning out when you're gonna do stuff. And that's something I learned in second semester, is that when you plan out like oh, like this day I'll do this part of the assignment, and this day I'll do this part, and like this day I'll like start this project, like that actually helps. It's honestly so dumb. Like I don't know why I didn't do this earlier, but if you plan out your assignments and you can like work around like days you'll know you'll be busy, you don't have to end up like staying up super late the night before it's due to finish it. That's like a really big pro tip for me. So get yourself a planner, or what I used the end of the year was Google Calendar, I think it's called. And Google Calendar makes it really easy for you to plan out your days like by the hour, so you can like literally plan like minute by minute what you're gonna do. And during final season I did that, and it's really good, so highly recommend. Number 8, talk to people and get out of your comfort zone. So I honestly didn't talk to that many people in my first year. I lived off campus, so that already kind of made it harder for me to talk to people, because like some of my friends were living like in the dorms, and it's really easy to make friends there because, you know, you're literally living like meters away from like a ton of people. So yeah, I didn't really talk to that many people like in that sense, but I also went to the university I went to with one of my friends, and we were both in engineering and we had all the same classes together. So I hung out with her, and then we made this other friend, and we were just like a little squad of 3 girls, and we like hung out together, like went to all our classes together because we had all the same classes. And it was really good to have like a nice solid group, but I wish that I talked to more people like at the beginning of the year, especially because that's when everyone is trying to like make friends. But also just like getting to know more people. Like at the end of the year, I started talking to a lot more people for some reason. I don't really know what happened, but I wish I talked to people earlier, because at least at the university I went to, they had like groups, I guess, of like engineers, and then we'd all have the same classes together because all the first year engineering students had to take the same classes. So like I was literally in the exact same classes as like probably a group of like at least like 30 other kids, and we all would just like kind of travel around together. But I didn't talk to that many of them, and I wish I talked to people earlier. I mean, you don't have to do this obviously, but that's just something I wish I knew before. And it's also a lot easier to make friends at the beginning because, like I said before, everyone's making friends and everyone just wants to like open their groups, I guess. But then once everyone has their groups, it's not impossible, but it's just a little bit harder. Number 9, sometimes you have to learn / do things you don't want to do. There are a lot of things on this list that I had heard already or that I knew, but for some reason I didn't take them to heart that much, even though I took some things to heart that I shouldn't have. Anyway, there's some things that I learned in first year that I was just like so confused about why we had to learn it, and I was just like annoyed and I didn't want to do it, but that's just part of it. Like sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do and you just gotta do it. There's a lot of concepts that I'll probably never revisit because I'm not going to be going into that field of engineering, but I mean, you have to learn it, and that's just the way it is. And learning can honestly be really fun. Like at the end of the year, I was having so much fun just learning things because I just love to learn stuff. I had to like reopen that part of my mind, I guess. I don't know, because before that I was just convinced that I was dumb and I couldn't do anything. So yeah, learning is really fun. And even if you don't want to learn something, I think it's just nice to appreciate that that is something that's there and it's something that someone discovered, and it's just like a piece of information that's just like interesting. And even if you don't use it, you just kind of like know that thing. I mean, you might forget, but it's just nice to have like that knowledge if you maybe do end up revisiting it someday. And finally, number 10, if you don't try or keep going, you'll never know. So I thought I was really dumb in first semester, first year, and I honestly thought that I couldn't do engineering. Like I thought I had to drop out, and like I said, like everyone told me it was hard, and since it was hard, I was like, I literally can't do it. Like there's no way. So I visited the arts faculty because I wanted to switch to urban planning, which I'm still interested in, and I think I might do a minor in it or something. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I literally got these forums and I was like, okay, like I think I'm gonna switch, but I couldn't switch until the next like school year. So I was like, okay, like I guess I'll wait. And I basically didn't drop out because I couldn't switch out of engineering. I think if I could have, I would have dropped out, which I think is kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I literally was gonna drop out. Like that was like my intention. I was like, okay, I'm gonna drop out, like I'm gonna do it. And I like talked to the engineering advisors, and I was just ready to go. And I also couldn't drop out because I literally had gone away for school, and if I completely dropped all my courses, like there wasn't anything for me to do there, and then I was paying for rent, and like I couldn't drop out basically. So I stuck with it, and first semester was like okay, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stay in second semester, like whatever. And honestly, like I love engineering now, like so much. And like maybe my opinions will change in the future because, you know, everyone's always changing. But as of right now, I am so glad that I stayed in engineering. Like I can't imagine me doing any other program. I'm just really glad that I stayed in engineering, and I'm really excited for second year. I think it's gonna be good because then I'm gonna be entering a specialty now instead of just doing general engineering. But if I dropped out, then I would never have known that I wanted to stay in engineering, and I wouldn't be where I am right now. And I'm glad that I stayed in it. So I think you have to like kind of ask yourself like if you're really unhappy, or if it's like if there's something in your situation that's making you unhappy. But I think sometimes like people just kind of like as soon as things get hard, or as soon as they're like, I don't like this, and they just like stop. But sometimes you need to like push past like the initial barrier, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. For some reason, the only thing I can think of is exercising. Like I feel like when people start going to the gym, like most people don't really enjoy it, but then after they figure out a routine, and once they figure out what kind of exercises they like more than others, and once they kind of figure out their training schedule and all that, they start to like it. But if they just went once and then decided they hated it, they would have never known. Honestly, if you can stick with it and it's not like really damaging your mental health, it might be a good idea for you to keep going. But if it's something that you know you're unhappy with and you know you're never gonna change your mind about, then I mean, then you might have to switch, and honestly that's okay too. But I think sometimes it's just good to really reflect, or even to just like stick with it for like a little bit longer, and then, you know, go from there. All right, those are the 10 things that I wish I knew before I started university. This is kind of like a more of a reflective video. I don't know if it was all over the place. Like I wrote a list on my computer of like the 10 things I wish I knew, but I don't know, I hope this video was helpful for someone. But if you guys want me to make more videos about university, like how to learn to study, since I had to do that, or how to like organize your finances, because I actually made a list the other day of like every single like penny I spent when I was at university. So if you guys want me to share that, then I can. Or just anything else about university, or like tips for like engineers specifically or something like that, like just let me know and I'll try to make that video. With all that being said, I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.